Back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie Schneiderite. Richie, we got a few interesting topics to discuss. Rutgers offered another 5-star prospect out of the class of 2024 yesterday, so we'll go into that. We have some updates on both of Rutgers' top portal targets in terms of basketball, and we have a football recruiting update. Sounds like there's a big event that's going to be happening in a few weeks. But let's just start right off the top. Asa Newell, the 5-star top 10 overall player in the class of 2024. He plays at Montverde Academy in Florida. He's originally also from Florida. You got to caveat that because those big schools tend to just take kids from all over the country, but he is a Florida native. Rutgers offered him yesterday. Now, that was, July 18th? It's very late in the cycle to be offering any kid in the class of 2024, let alone kids that are ranked that high. What was the thought process here? Tell us a little bit about more of the thought that went into that. We can go into Ace's game.
So first off, I found this out recently, and I just found it out like a second ago, actually. He's actually an Athens, Georgia native, but he played his high school ball in Florida and then went to Montverde. So that's kind of where the whole Georgia lean type thing kind of comes into play. But so the Rutgers saw him out at the USA minicamp, or not minicamp, the World Cup out in Hungary when Steve Peichel, Brandon Knight went out there to watch Dylan Harper. Everyone's like, whoa, my God, the only head coach to go see Dylan Harper. Yeah, because Dylan Harper's leading Rutgers. Yeah, we all know that. But they saw Asa out there as well, and they got to know his game a little bit more. And then I was told the other day, you saw him tweet out the offer. I think it was yesterday, day before, whatever. And he tagged Coach Williamson, and I found out that Coach Williamson has a connection to the family. So basically, based on that, they just kind of started learning more and more about his game and kind of realizing, I think everyone knew how good of a prospect he was, but the fact that they got to see him in person kind of helped evaluate them a little more. And Rutgers wants to build this Fab 5 class. That's what they want to do at the end of the day. I know they technically only have 3 right now. Dylan would be 4. And we have never really talked. I shouldn't say we never have. We've mentioned it previously, but we never talked about a potential 5th prospect in this class. But this would kind of be it, as he could be like a 4-man for them and probably bump everyone down a level, because you'd probably put Ace at the 3, maybe Dylan at the 1, and someone else at the 2, or vice versa. There's a lot of lineups that you can make, especially at the end of the day, you're not going to say no to Asa Newell, who's a top 20 kid, another 5-star. This is just an interesting offer late in the process, because I said before, he is a Georgia lean. He's an Athens, Georgia native. His brother's a walk-on at Georgia. But yeah, they're definitely going to see if they can get him on campus, at least for a visit.
Yeah, and so Asa, to go, like you said, he and Dylan played together at the U19 FIBA World Cup in Hungary. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Ace was also part of that training camp. It sounds like Ace probably would have made the team had he not gotten sick. But Asa actually, I assume he's 16, maybe he's 17, as one of the youngest players on the team. He led the team in minutes at the tournament. He averaged 21.2 minutes per game. Mm-hmm. To put it in comparison, Dylan averaged 18.8. I think they both were starters in most games. Yep. He shot 51% from the field at the tournament. He shot 86% from the free throw line. He averaged 6 rebounds a game, 2 blocks a game, and 7.7 points per game. He had the highest plus minus of anybody on the team. He's a really good player. Like you said, he kind of is a similar player to Ace Bailey, and it's funny because Ace's nickname is also Ace, so they could have a funny play on words there. But yeah, it sounds like from everything I've heard, from reaching out to some sources, it sounds like Peichel's just, feeling himself. They want to build that Fab 5 class. And, when you already arguably have number 1 and number 2, maybe that gets bumped down once Cooper Flagg reclassifies. This is turning into, why not? Let's go for it. Let's see if we can garner any interest. I've heard you've said that Coach Smoke has a connection to the family. We're still trying to suss out what that actually is. Mm-hmm. But, they're going for it here.
Yeah, so basically, honestly, it's a legit Fab 5 level class. You got Bryce Dortch, probably not a one and done. Lathan Somerville, probably not a one and done. But Ace and Dylan are almost guaranteed one and dones. I'd probably argue this kid is too. Just switching over and transitioning to talking about his game a little bit. He's just a really good player. He's got a great combination of skill set and size. He's been generating interest from professional scouts. They've been watching him a ton, especially with the USA under-19 camp and all that stuff. Twitchy, super athletic, and he's tall and lengthy too. I know we say that a lot with most of these guys, but this man is just a lengthy player that is a menacing shot blocker.
Yes.
I was watching his tape before, and it just can change the trajectory of just about any shot put in front of him. So it's a great defender as well, and it kind of, I don't want to compare his game to Ace. It's a little different, but he's just a really good player. He's got a really consistent mid-range. Trying to read my fucking notes right here. As a back to the rim presence, wiry forward, twitchy, fluid athleticism. Yeah, all the stuff I already said. He's just a great player overall, and I mean, like top 20 kid. So yeah, I found out. Just got some little info cooking in the background. Got some messages sent out, but one of their AAU coaches for Newell's team is connected to Marlon Williamson, and that's kind of where that connection comes from. So kind of stems back to the similar thing with Brandon Knight and Omar Cooper, AAU, and Ace. Now it's Marlon Williamson, coach at AAU, and One Family at AAU, I think it was. Is that what it was? Florida-based AAU program, and Marlon Williamson's really close with them. So that's kind of the connection there, and that's kind of what you need going forward. That's how you get most of these kids, is based on the AAU coaches. It's no longer like the high school coaches. Yes, they have a relationship with the college coaches, but AAU is basically, that's it now. I don't want to say no one cares about the high school anymore, but it's basically all AAU. Like you see the AAU circuits in the summer, and there's 50, 60, 70 college coaches just watching every single game possible. Like,
yep.
So, but anyway, that is the connection there. He has a connection to their AAU program, hence the offer. And I'm sure Marlon Williams is not just going to throw out an offer, number one, without running it by Pike or Brandon Knight or whoever. Mm-hmm. Number two, they're not going to just throw out an offer unless they think they have a shot, in my opinion. I think they're a little confident in it, and I think they have a shot, a legitimate shot, although he is considered a Georgia lean right now. I think you get him to campus, you sell him on the fact that he can play with Ace and play with potentially Dylan at the next level, and you get that Fab 5 level class, and then you got 3 solidified starters next year right there.
Yeah, and to put some more color behind the Georgia lean, his brother is a walk-on at Georgia right now, his older brother Jaden.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like they are in the lead. I know Indiana feels good about where they sit. It sounds like there's a lot of teams feeling really good about where they sit, which is a lot of times means that there's a lot of teams don't really know how they sit. So maybe they saw an opportunity, like kid's still uncommitted, maybe try and get an in with him. I've heard a lot of people compare him to Trace Jackson Davis too, to kind of give you a little bit more of an idea of the player he could be. Just like a very athletic four. He doesn't really have much of an outside shot, but is really dangerous in the mid-range and in the paint, and is an elite defender, truly elite defender. So I think his development in terms of his outside shot will be the most important thing to kind of determine whether or not he's going to be a lottery pick, or whether or not he's going to be a guy who has to stay for maybe 2 years in college.
Yeah, I'm looking now. There's AAU teams part of the New Balance circuit. Ooh. So apparently there's a New Balance circuit. Did not know that at all, but yeah, I mean, it would be the first Florida kid that they've actually landed, because we'll consider him a Florida kid, that they've landed since Corey Sanders, probably, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they really don't hit Florida that much for basketball, especially with the Northeast being the basketball breeding ground of talent.
Yeah, and just a little bit more about high school versus AAU. Like, how many kids have you covered in basketball who literally attend a different high school every year in terms of basketball? And so they're always moving around, but the one thing they stick with is they tend to stick with the same AAU program. Those are the guys that they end up spending the most time with, have the best connections with. And that's why, when a guy has an AAU coach who's also his mentor, advisor, whatever they want to call it, it's why, because they stick with them throughout their entire journey, whereas high school programs tend to come and go for a lot of these kids.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, they were also participated in the On the Radar Hoops event And if you recall, who else participated in On the Radar Hoops tournament event, whatever the hell it was, Ace Bailey and AOT. So there's a little connection there as well. So I mean, he's played alongside Ace and Dylan at the USA camp, played alongside Dylan in Hungary, where I'm sure that team there was probably team bonding stuff. Those guys just get to know each other better because they're all playing together for overseas and they don't know anyone else.
Yep.
So I mean, maybe if potentially Dylan said something to him too, and just said like, "Hey man, like, any chance you're interested? Like, let's figure out if we could do something here." So it's
a lot of the times your recruits end up being your best recruiters because ultimately that's who these kids are all going to be playing with is the players. So
yeah.
We've both seen that Ace is just a dynamic recruiter for this class. He's been on Dylan, ever since he committed. And he could be, like you said, they played together in the trials, so he got to know Ace probably a little bit. He's probably seen him at different AAU events. Definitely knows Dylan well, especially after the trip to Hungary. They always talk about, the relationships these Team USA guys build at events like the Olympics, and 3 or 4 years later, you might see a super team get built up around guys who really bonded over these international events, and it's no different for high schoolers too. Or not all high schoolers, but kids who are 16, 17, 18 years old.
No, it'd be a hell of a get if you could figure it out. He hasn't scheduled a visit, he hasn't done anything like that yet, but it would not shock me if he did, to be honest. So wait and see what happens there.
And get him on campus for a big game. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, so signing day, I guess, would be before the season starts for these kids, unless you decide to wait until the late signing period.
I think it's November.
Yeah, it's November. So I don't know if there would be any games played because the opening day is the 6th, I believe. So I don't know if there's any games played before signing day.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's pivot to the actual team next year. I know we had some transfer portal talk recently where we said there'd be an announcement today and that there would be a visit upcoming for another guy. Let's start with Austin Williams. He initially was going to announce today. That got pushed back. Tell us a little bit about why and what's going on with his recruitment.
Yeah, so Austin Williams is he's not actually going to decide today. I know that was a previous plan. That's what he told me, actually. But after talking to a couple sources, he's going to push that back a little bit. He has to finish his summer course first. Once he finishes that summer course and gets that done and over with, and as long as he passes, he'll be a Scarlet Knight, in my opinion. I shouldn't even say my opinion. It's probably like a full-blown fact at this point. But yeah, he's just finishing up a course. That technically, if he's still at FIU, I don't know if that's true or not because you could take summer courses, I think, just about anywhere.
Yeah, especially most courses have online availability for summer for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he's going to, as soon as he graduates, and if it is FIU, I looked into the academic calendar that technically grades aren't have to be submitted until the 31st. Mind you, they can be submitted beforehand because I think the semester ends on the 26th. So it gives professors, educators, whatever you want to call them, 6 days, 5 days notice to submit those grades. I think he's going to – I can't see why he wouldn't pass. From what I was told, he's already like passing the class with flying colors. It's just a matter of him getting that course done, and then he'll be able to go to Rutgers and start up practice, which I think starts – what did I say? I said it on the boards, the 1st, I believe. No, that's not right. The 25th, I believe it starts. So maybe you announce it right before that and just get him on campus and hopefully gets his grade a day early or something.
Yeah, because these guys, I mean, you have to have your roster rounded out by the time they go on that international trip because that's going to be so important for team building this year, so important for, trying things out. Because I imagine there's a lot of this is trying to tinker with the lineup, especially with so many of the minutes you've lost from last year at this point. Like, you need to see, like, how these guys can actually work together. You know what I mean? So I imagine that's like a very fun and stressful exercise at the same time. Like, it's fun because you're going to be doing things different. I fully expect a higher tempo offense this year, but kind of nerve wracking because like you're putting guys who haven't been put in these positions under Peichel before to perform, especially because we all know he's a defense first guy. Like, the amount of intensity you need to have in Steve Peichel's defensive systems is pretty intense. So I know I said intense there twice, but no better term for it.
Spot on. He's a great player. I think I know everyone tends to disagree with me all of a sudden because they want to see Derek Simpson as one of the starters, but I think he's a starter. I don't think that's a question. he's a great defender. He can play. He can either guard the 2 or the 3. He's a good shooter, or not great shooter. He's a good complementary player next to Noah Fernandez, and it could be a guy that drives to the rim a lot more than Fernandez will. I know Fernandez has that in his game a little bit, in his bag, whatever you want to call it. But I think he's a good fit, and he can score. Obviously, before he got hurt, he was a pretty good player. The only issue is do you want a backcourt of 2 guys that were injured last year?
Yeah.
That's the big question mark. So
yep. So we'll see there. The other guy we've previously talked about as a player Rutgers was targeting was former Temple and Iowa State guard Jeremiah Williams. So Jeremiah Williams is supposed to take a visit this weekend, the 24th. I say supposed to, but he's taking a visit. Tell us a little bit about his recruitment and what you're hearing about him, because I think there might be some medical situation that is important to kind of underline here.
Medical waiver. We can get into all of that. Jeremiah Williams missed all last season towards Achilles back in October. It's been a slow rehab process for him, what we were told. He technically committed to Illinois earlier this offseason, then he decommitted from Illinois. From what I was told, there's two rumors out there. One rumor is they saw his medical records and they kind of said, all right, well, shit, like, dude, you're not even gonna be ready this year. Like, you gotta figure that out. So that's one rumor as why they quote unquote didn't drop him. And then the other one is that there was a rumor that he was involved with something with the Iowa State gambling scandal. But everything I've read about the Iowa State gambling thing has said nothing about basketball whatsoever. I know it's not public information which players were involved, but I think it was baseball and something else, and wrestling or softball. I forget what it was exactly, but I know for a fact it did not say basketball or football, because those are the 2 big major programs at every school. So I don't think it's that at all. I do think it's more the medical records thing and him not being ready this year. So that's where it's a little intriguing that Rutgers is going to pursue. Plus, it's his second time transfer, so he needs a waiver. And if he couldn't get a waiver at Illinois, I don't know what makes you think. If Chicago native couldn't get a waiver at Illinois, I don't know what makes you think he's going to get a waiver in New Jersey, where he has 0 connections whatsoever. Is there workarounds to that? Technically, there is a workaround, because the NCAA is deathly afraid of being sued by just about anybody right now. They've already handed out a ton of checks, so they don't really know what to expect. But, for example, his former Temple teammate, Jameel Reynolds, apparently is kind of claiming that Temple botched his rehab, and now he's all of a sudden eligible at Cincinnati. So maybe Iowa State botched his rehab, or you say it did, and you get him eligible. Jeremiah's personally told me that he thinks he'll be good to start the season, but everything I've heard is he's probably going to have to sit out this year, whether it be waiver reasons or injury reasons. Nor do I think he'll be 100% to start the season, because an Achilles is no joke. Like ACLs we talk about, like, because it happens all the time, like 8 months, blah, blah, blah. Like even Kevin Durant, I think, took like 11 months. And that's Kevin Durant with an NBA level rehab process, NBA everything, training staff, probably his own personal training staff, to be honest.
It was more than that, because KD tore his Achilles in the finals, and he sat out the following year.
Yeah, for the Nets. Yeah, I miss him still. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, he sat out quite a bit of time. So it's a weird addition. I know they'll take him along with Austin Williams, so it's a weird addition if they do, just because it takes up a scholarship for next year when you have Ace, Bryce Dortch, Lathan Somerville, potentially Dylan, potentially Asa Newell, and you're just going to throw another ship on there. So that's where it's a little intriguing, and I don't know how I feel about it too much, but he is a great on-ball defender. And if you can get a defender to mix in with that scoring crowd, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't want people – I know you just mentioned Asa Newell as a possibility. I don't want people to think that we're saying that Rutgers is in a really good position here. I think nobody really knows. Rutgers threw their hat in the ring. We'll see how things go. But, they're clearly, bringing in a big class in 24. And to have a guy like Jeremiah Williams who – if he doesn't play this year, he has 2 years of eligibility. How valuable will he be on the team in the future? I don't know. We'll see.
The other thing is, like, the Temple guys keep telling me, like, they're like, honestly, obviously he got hurt. Like, it's not a great scenario. Achilles is a rough injury, But they said he was a great team guy, potential team leader down the line for them before he transferred, obviously. But on top of that, he also oh, that's interesting. I don't know why they posted that. But on top of that, he also I can't even talk right now. Very good on ball defender. And if you, like I said, if you could slot defender, you need a defender for this team. Like, don't get me wrong. Can Dylan defend? Yes, he can. Can Ace defend? Actually, Ace is pretty good at defense.
He's an elite defender.
Ace. Yeah, like can Asa Newell defend? It looks like he's a pretty good shot blocker, so that's great.
Yep.
Like, I preface this by saying there's a good chance he probably doesn't end up a Scarlet Knight, but whatever. Lathan Somerville is a good solid defender in the post interior. But putting like a lockdown guard type would be perfect next to Dylan. Mm-hmm. And especially one that can kind of create his own shot, but create his own shot a little bit. And Jeremiah Williams, I think that'd be a perfect fit. And it makes a ton of sense. But when you look at the potential of who would want to, you don't know really who would want to join this team next year, especially if you add Dylan too. But it's a risk. Maybe you push someone else out and just say, yeah, see you. Sorry. Adios. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, it is what it is. I think it'd be a great addition for Rutgers. I'd be a little shocked if he didn't commit, to be honest.
Yeah, if they get him on campus and Pike can really pitch him, I think he would be committed as well. But just to give you guys an expectation is that he probably doesn't play next year. Maybe he does. He thinks he's good, but a lot of people don't. So, TBD. The last basketball thing I have here is the Scarlet Open is this Sunday.
Yes.
I'm sure some of you are signed up for it. If you are not, it sounds like an awesome event. They've been putting out a lot of great materials on it on social media, like having all the players photoshopped into professional golfers and giving them nicknames and stuff like that. There is still very limited availability if you would like to attend and have not. If you would like to attend, you could DM the Knight Society either on Twitter or Instagram about your interest, or you can email geo@knightsociety.io. That's one word, no hyphen. So geo@knightsociety.io if you're interested in attending. Like I said, limited availability for this event. All of the proceeds go towards Rutgers Basketball. This is an event that I think is going to be a huge hit and something they'll probably do every year. Is there anything else that you wanted to hit on about the Scarlet Open there, Rich?
No, I'm trying to look at these photos. It looks like Noah Fernandez was photoshopped over like a tiger photo because it's the red shirt, but I could be wrong. Andre Hyatt, I don't really know whose photo that is. I'm trying to figure that one out. That's a tough one, but that's a really good edit. Like you zoom in and you don't see any crops or anything. That's a good one. That's a really good one. But I mean, if you haven't seen it already, it's all over social media. Steve Peichel's done videos about it on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, etc. I believe there's individual tickets too. So if you don't want to participate in the giant open thing, which is I think a couple grand, you could also just go and just watch or be a part of the dinner or be a part of whatever. You get to meet all these players too. So if you're a big Rutgers basketball fan, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, every single Rutgers basketball player will be there. All the coaches, the sports staff, I think each assistant, Steve Peichel, and each player will be the captain or one of the captains on each team. So
correct.
If you are a part of this, you will be on a team with one of Rutgers basketball players or coaches. So it's a great time. It sounds like a great time. It's a great way to, talk to these players, ask them the burning question you always had, whatever your inclination is. Just a great event all together for Rutgers basketball. I couldn't recommend it more highly.
Yeah. And this is just the beginning too. I know everyone wants to talk about golf outings, big golf outings. And I think they did this personally just because it was trying to gauge interest to see how many people they can get to sign up. And now I think maybe they do it again next year at Topgolf because there is a lot of bays, but it's only 16 teams currently.
Yep.
I think you can make this thing 10 times bigger next year, but I'm already speculating and this didn't even happen yet.
Yep. Yeah. So, like you said, that's on Sunday. I believe it's at 2:00 or it's in the early afternoon. So it's not like a nighttime event. But again, if you haven't signed up already and are interested,
11:30 to 4:30.
11:30 to 4:30. So again, contact the Knight Society on Instagram or Twitter. I believe their social media handle is just Knight Society _ at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can email Geo directly at at knightsociety.io. And I think that's it for basketball. We do have one football-related thing we wanted to hit on. It sounds like Rutgers Football is hosting a pretty big recruiting event. They're having their recruiting barbecue. I don't know exactly when. Tell us a little bit about that event and when that's happening.
That's going to be July 28th. They're going to try to do this barbecue event for the most part every year because there is a little bit like open period. So some schools have like a camp at the end of July because you have a couple days to work with recruits, get recruits on campus. Some schools just straight up have a barbecue event. Rutgers did this last year. I think they're going to try to do it every year going forward. They're going to try to do a barbecue event where you get all the commits on campus. Everyone gets to hang out, play cornhole, blah, 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 eat food, yada, yada, a typical barbecue. Now, this is where you're going to host most of your commits and top targets. So some of the notable names that will be on campus include Caden Brown, who could potentially commit that day. Throw that one out there.
Interesting.
It's been future casted for God knows how long at this point. Yeah, he's one to keep an eye on for 24. 25s have two notable names that have been able to confirm so far, and that's John Forrester, the running back out of St. Joe's Montverde, who's probably better suited as a slot receiver, in my opinion, but that's besides the point. Personally, after talking to him quite a bit this spring, it sounded like Penn State was making a serious push for him. Then Penn State landed a running back out of Texas, and they're being very selective with that second back. So now it sounds like Rutgers could be near the top for John Forrester. So that's going to be a name to keep a close eye on, especially because Rutgers is kind of getting back in the Big North, which is weird to say considering they lost their two Big North coaches. Go figure how that works. And then the other big name I'm keeping a really close eye on, he's not going to commit that weekend. Neither is Forrester, so just let me say that out loud. But one that I think is going to end up a Scarlet Knight when it's all said and done, and I'm really close to putting in a future cast for it, is Michael Thomas III. He's a wide receiver at a Donovan Catholic High School down in South. So I got to be careful with that one.
Donovan is I think it's South Monmouth County, I believe. Or actually, no. Donovan is in Toms River. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So I think where's that border? There's like a weird border in Monmouth County.
I think that is literally like right on the edge. It's.
I'm looking at the map. It's close.
It would be dead center of Central Jersey.
We'll just call it the shore.
Call it the shore. Go for it.
From the shore. But he's actually a Saraville native, so I'm pretty familiar with him. Pretty familiar with his game because he's from down the street. His uncle was like one of the best players I've seen ever growing up, and Sean Thomas at Saraville. Great player, mind you, back in the day. Geez, I'm getting old. But yeah, no, I think Michael Thomas has a really good shot to end up with Rutgers when it's all said and done. It sounds like Shiano's already done a great job winning over the family, mom especially, and we know how that kind of works. We saw it with Corey Duff: win the mom, win the recruit. Yep. So I'm very, very close to putting in a future cast for him. It might not happen anytime soon. It might be a way down the line thing, but pending some like Georgia coming in and offering, which they won't, I don't think. I think there's a good shot he ends up a Scarlet Knight when it's all said and done. So keeping a close eye on him. But I'd probably just say Caden Brown's the one to keep the closest eye on in terms of 2024s.
Yeah, I love Michael Thomas's game.
It's good.
Plays at a bit of a smaller school. Donovan Catholic's not really known for producing a lot of talent, but they have gotten a lot better recently too. I think they had a lineman go to North Carolina probably 10 years ago at this point. Jeez.
Yeah.
But slowly but surely making their way back up. Do you have anything else you wanted to cover before we have a surprise guest on the pod?
We have a surprise guest on the pod. I don't even know who the surprise guest is.
You'll find out.
Oh, okay. I feel like I should know that probably, but I think that's really it. Stay tuned for some news later on this month in terms of facilities. That's all I'm going to say on that front. But you could speculate what you want. You know what? You go ahead and I want to see your best guesses in the comments.
Put your best guesses in the comments about what facility you think it is. But there'll be big announcements at the end of the month, like you said.
Yeah, make it a little fun. Should be interesting. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, to the Rutgers fan or someone who's sitting outside Saquon's house yelling at him.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Barstool Rutgers.
Yeah, Rutgers Barstool. Somebody was like, Saquon, I love you. Take the deal.
Too late now.
Sign the contract.
Well, I mean, yeah, you still got to sign that shit. Dude, I don't know how I feel about that one. But it's not a Giants pod, unfortunately. It's a Rutgers pod, so I'm just going to...
It is definitely not a Giants pod.
I forgot you're an Eagle fan.
Yep.
But we'll wait and see what happens. We could have some new... Oh, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. So I've talked to some of you guys about this, but I got a puppy recently. His name is Chet. If you're watching on YouTube, you get to see him. He is an 8-week-old red golden retriever, and he's been sleeping this whole time incognito on my lap.
Well,
so
there you go.
I know people have been asking where he is, but here he is. So here's Chet.
Hashtag golden retriever, and our views just go.
Yep. But anyway.
Oh, jeez. Is that a special guest? I feel like I forgot about that.
This is the special guest.
Okay, yeah. Making sure. I was like, do we have another pod going? Like, I forgot.
No, we don't. Just wanted to throw that into confusion for some people.
Yeah, he's still tired, man. Yawning.
I know. He's been clonked out. It must be the weather.
Yeah. Well, hey. Well, congrats. I said it to you.
Thank you.
Say it again.
All right, guys. Well, thanks once again for listening. Thanks to all the people who have recently reviewed or subscribed to the YouTube, or if you've started following us on any of your favorite social or on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Keep doing it if you should do it at this point. If you've listened to this many podcasts and haven't reviewed us, that's just, we're gonna get a shame bell for you guys just to ring.
Shame.
Shame. Did you know that lady? Have you seen Ted Lasso?
Yeah, she's
so Rebecca, the owner. That's her. The lady who rings the shame bell in Game of Thrones and makes Cersei do the naked walk. Yeah, that's the same actress. It's wild.
Holy shit!
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
that's I guess you never really see her hair. She has
it's just like a very tight, like she's wearing some kind of like tunic or something.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. That's yeah. Well, that's all I got. That's it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening once again, guys. This has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.